In 1992, I experienced live for the first time the kind of singing I had only ever heard on recordings. It was when the choir of Holy Trinity Ebutero, Lagos, visited Badagry, the doorway of Christianity into Nigeria, to mark the 150th anniversary of Christianity in the country. This all-male choir operated within the very competitive Lagos Island choral music scene, alongside choirs of the Cathedral Church of Christ, St. John's Aroloya, and many others. It was a scene shaped by outstanding music directors, including Mr. T.K.E. Phillips, Mr. James Adekunle, and of course, Mr. Kehinde Okusanya, whose story I spotlight in this documentary. Just a year after that encounter with the Holy Trinity Ebutero Choir, I would have the good fortune of joining and being nurtured within the very same Lagos Island choral tradition.
Sometime around 1993, my brother, Mr. Sam Kunoji, had encountered the choir and had said so much about the choir of St. John's Aroloya, had said so many things about the choirmaster, his dexterity on the organ, and all of that. So I had heard so much about him and the choir under his leadership. At that time, my father had just been transferred to St. John's Church, Aroloya. He had moved there. We were still somewhere in Badagry, the family. And so my brother had come to the parish with my dad and saw the choir, encountered the choir master, and came back with very nice things to say about Mr. Okusanya, about his skills on the organ. So already I was looking forward to meeting him. I was looking forward to encountering and experiencing the choir, looking forward to listening to the choir. And so the first time I visited St. John's Aroloya, it was a Sunday evening. So I attended the evensong, and the experience was just heavenly. I really can't tell whether he was the one on the organ that evening, but I remember that the organ sound and the choir blended so well. The singing was just out of this world. No, I mean there was a perfect blend, and I enjoyed it so much. And immediately I knew that I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to be part of that choir. When it was time for the choir rehearsal, I was there.
When I joined the St. John's Aroloya Choir in 1993, Mr. Okusanya had already been leading the choir for about 7 years. But the path that brought him to that point and the high standard that we knew under his leadership was not without challenges. His tenure began amid a kind of schism surrounding his appointment as music director. And in the years that followed, certain decisions he made also stirred tension within the church.
In 1986, I was invited to be organist at St. John's Aroloya. Earlier, when I was invited, maybe a year or two before then, I was asked to write my application letter. Out of respect for the late organist then, Mr. Lavinjo, I was asked to, since I came through him to the church, that I should give him my application letter. I gave it to him. For one curious reason or the other, I don't know. Because I had two people on the parish council then, who then came to me and said, we've been expecting your application. Didn't you write it? You know, it's just a formality. I said, I wrote it and I took it to this man in his house in Yaba. But he didn't, for one reason or the other, he didn't want me. So he did not submit the application. Because there's another fellow that he wanted, but the church wanted me because of the quality of my performance. So after that, another 1 year passed. I think he couldn't cope with the rigors of Tuesday, Thursday practice, Sunday, Monday, Sunday evening. He resigned. So the parish council, for some reason, they were not asking for application because of that experience. What they did was to write me a letter of invitation. That's how I moved there in January 1986 as a organist and choirmaster.
In 1986, early that year, Kehinde Okusanya became choirmaster, like I said, and immediately he took 6 of the boys, the choir boys, under his wings, namely Kunle Ayodele, Kunle Oyemade, Kunle Awonuga, my older brother, Olaolu Elias, Bade Akinsanya, and myself, and introduced us to the amazing world of the piano.
But also improving, ensuring that, other choir members become very good at sight reading, music sight reading, and, voice training and all that. Because I remember in my case, personally, he, trained me a lot. Voice training, I would do voice training with him. And then at some point too, he was, trying to continue my training with the piano. And, given that, he was training me a lot, I was, performing many solo parts in the choir.
With a clear sense of purpose, Mr. Okusanya resumed his role as music director at St. John's Aroloya, bringing with him the same spirit of innovation that distinguished his leadership of the FRCN choir. It challenged long-held traditions and also reshaped the way annual choir festivals were conceived and practiced at St. John's Aroloya. In doing so, he drew extensively from Yoruba musical traditions, which had been an essential part of his upbringing.
He introduced something that was never done before in Aroloya Church Choir, the Festival of Psalms. And one will think that, having Festival of Psalms will be boring and all that, but it's innovation in using Yoruba folklore songs like Fesojaye baye baja kosheso, Fesojaye o baye baja kosheso. He arranged that into a chantable setting.
I think he was in love with psalms because we had festivals of psalms, and for me that was so novel. You don't get to see that in other places. It's the usual even song with hymns here, then a few psalms and things like that. But with Mr. Kehinde Okusanya, we would have maybe a festival of psalms, which means that from procession to recession, everything will just be taking psalms.
And I said to myself, what choir festival in churches, in this church, will not follow all those responses and this pattern of usual service? That's when I thought about psalms. The first one was Epo nbe wa nbe o, epo nbe wa nbe o. So, the chant normally took this pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. ta 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 tam. 4, right? Ta 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 tam. 6, ta 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 tam. Ta 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 pam. So I turned that to a chant. So I tried it with I made it processional hymn. I did not make use of any foreign chant. It was all my own chants based on, or tunes based on Nigerian folk tales or Yoruba tunes. Some of them secular. First, ta 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 tam, ta 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 tam, ta 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 ta, ta 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 tam. I was asking Mr. Odeoni, who was my favorite colleague for choir festival. I told him, when you introduce it as it was sung then. So he would not introduce ta 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 tam, pam 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 pam. No, he would do this. Ta 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 tam, pa 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 pam, pa pa pam. Ta ta ti ta ta ti 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 te te. Somebody said to me that, why are you taking popular music into church? I said that if you went into, we only Yoruba, that the one used in Anglican churches, if you go to there, the second half of it contained things like, ẹ jẹ́ kọ́ ọmọdé ó wá o, ẹ jẹ́ kọ́ ọmọdé ó wá, jòjòló, ọmọ kékeré jòjòló òun lọ́rẹ́ Olódùmarè, ẹ jẹ́ kọ́ ọmọdé ó wá. The time of Reverend J.J. Ransom Kuti, some of the tunes there originated from secular music. It does not make it secular. It's the text that makes it secular. So that was how it started converting tunes that were popular in those days when I was young, converting them to chants. I had a congregation that was understanding, and somehow, as old as most of them were, they were able to easily admire, enjoy, and reminded of tunes that were secular, that came to be part of a religious service.
Mr. Okusanya was driven by a desire to stand out and to be the best he could be, while also pushing those under his leadership to reach the same high standards.
You see, the old man who was teaching them then, who was there for so many years, they got used to all those drab hymns. They got used to doing things the wrong way. He wasn't a trained musician. And then, of course, the choir got used to it. They accepted it as the norm. In fact, within them, members of the choir, they believed that the best choir was Cathedral Church of Christ. And I wanted to change that. Mr. Phillips, who was their choir master, was doing a good job, and fine organist too. But I just always wanted to be different, to show that, and I proved the point, to show that the choir at Aroloya could be good, if not better than even Cathedral Church of Christ. Not just in the music they performed, but also the tone of the choir.
He questioned everything around him. So if you were going to tell Mr. Okusanya that something doesn't exist, he will ask you, have you gone all over the world? Have you seen? So that you have not seen it, does it mean it does not exist or it can't happen? So that's the kind of person he was, and I believe he still is. He's someone that would question virtually everything. He wants to be sure that whatever he's doing is the best thing he could possibly be doing. So he would not do a thing just because that's how we've always done it. He was a very innovative person. He would want to change, try new things. He would not just want to continue what probably was handed over to him. So he was that kind of person. And even the rehearsals in those days were always very challenging. I mean, you're coming for choir rehearsal, you know that you're going to the rehearsal for very serious business. You're going there to do something very serious. It's going to challenge you, challenge your musicianship, challenge your ability to sight read and then to interpret the music correctly. So, and we always looked forward to those rehearsals. There was never a dull moment. There was never a time that you'll say, "Oh, what we're doing here is boring. It's not interesting." There was never a time like that. With Mr. Kehinde Okusanya in charge, you know that every rehearsal mattered because there was something. I mean, then we had this church anthem book. That's all you get. You get the music. I think that church anthem book had maybe like 100 selected anthems, and for our rehearsals, then that was what we were always working on. So you get the church anthem book. Every chorister will have a copy. He'll tell us open to this number, and then you have to sing your parts. So it was like that. So it's a very challenging experience for me. And I loved it so much because I loved to be challenged. I loved to learn. I loved to um to know new things. And here was that opportunity to learn new things, to practice and make myself better. So his leadership offered that opportunity to grow my own musicianship.
Mr. Okusanya was a man of purpose. We started learning the piano in 1986, and by 1990, at the choir's 70th choir festival, we made our debut with Kunle Awonuga playing from the Anna Magdalena Little Notebook by Bach. And in fact, Kehinde Okusanya's son himself, Ibitokwe Okusanya, played the Preludium by Bach, the C major Preludium number 1, with the likes of Banke Ademola, Dolores Oreduba, and I think Fumi Adams at the time, who were first-class musicians, inspiring us and leading us to quality music making. That was the type of man Mr. Okusanya was.
Beyond his professionalism and pursuit of high musical standards, Mr. Okusanya was also deeply humanitarian. He prioritized serving people over money, a principle that also empowered him to stand firm for his beliefs without fear of losing his earnings or any other favor from the church.
You may not know, throughout my stay in Aroloya, I was there for about 20 years. I did not take a penny, a salary. I did not take a penny from private services. So like somebody has a wedding, or somebody's daughter has a wedding, or somebody's son has a wedding, or birthday ceremony, there's a fee they must pay to the choir. And I told the choir knew that I wasn't taking money. I never took any money from anybody. And I told the choir, please, the reward of what we are doing here is not from people that we take money from. It's from God our maker. Money comes your money. If anybody comes and they know that if somebody cannot really afford to pay the choir money, find time, show up, give them that joy of that day. And they did it for some people, free. I said, don't do it to anybody, to everybody. Because some people have the money. They will tell you they don't have money. They're just managing themselves. But when you go to their reception, you find juju band playing there. Juju band will not do it for free. But they will readily pay the juju band for the after wedding service. And we tell the choir they don't have money. I say, make sure that you do that.
We know that he was not doing the work he was doing at Aroloya then. He wasn't doing it for the money. And that also encouraged some of us. I have also worked in a choir now for over 24 years as director of music. And it's the same principle that has helped me. The principle of service without expecting to be paid. So his own life has taught us a lesson.
I wasn't taking salary every month. I said, keep my salary. So they would hold on to it until end of the year. They'll pay me that salary times 12. I will collect it. I will write a check to that same amount. Sometimes they gave me check, never cash, because of the amount, for 12 months. I would write a check in my own name. So it wasn't as if I returned the check to them. I would write in my own name. But it's been the amount, same amount they knew, I'll give it to them. That's also what's happening. And those who have private parties, the service, birthday, all those things, I never took. I always explain to the choir that money is not everything. There are certain things that money cannot buy.
In fact, if I have my way, every music director will work will do that work pro bono, because that is when you can really do it sincerely. You can do the job without compromise. You can do the job like your conscience tells you should do the job. But the moment they believe, some people believe that you're doing it because of whatever salary they're paying you, and in reality they can't pay you. But once they believe that they're paying you and that you're doing it because of what you hope to get from it, it becomes very difficult, if not impossible, for you to do that work the way you should. So that has helped me. Where I also work, I don't get paid, and it has helped me. Okay, it makes it difficult for someone to say, "We'll sack you." If you say you'll sack me, please, I'm waiting for the sack letter. Let's have it. Okay, but if you're relying on what they're paying you, or maybe they have given you an apartment, and then they can threaten you with quit notice. They can tell you that they will sack you and they will give you 24 hours to pack out. Then it becomes difficult to do the right thing. Even when you see what is right, you can't say it, because you depend maybe financially on them, or you depend on that system for your livelihood. So he has taught us that to be a good director, to be an effective director of music, you need a different source of income. So if you're relying, and we see this, it plays out everywhere. I see so many young directors of music, and I see the way people, especially priests, that think just about themselves. I see the way they treat those young musicians, those young organists. So I mean, I think someone like Mr. Okusanya showed us the way, showed us how to do this job and do it effectively.
Alongside his musical innovations and humanitarian contributions, Mr. Okusanya also took a stand against the exclusion of women from the choir.
You know, Aroloya choir was strictly male choir, but I changed that because what is not sacred about having a girl in the choir? There was a girl in my FRCN choir. He happened to be a member also of Aroloya Church. Then she came to me and said she want to, I remember the Reverend Bamishebi. I said, she's a member of the FRCN choir, it's non-denomination, so why can't she sing in Aroloya Church? I said, well, I have no objection. If you come today, you will robe and start singing because you're already in that renowned choir, FRCN choir. So that's the way I saw it. So, out of respect, I told the vicar, I said, this girl said, she cannot robe. He said, Bishop has to approve it. He took it to parish council. Parish council said they should write to Bishop. Bishop said, Bishop had replied, Lara no lo jẹ́ kí n mọ̀ pé there is nothing wrong. Before that, the St. Peter's Church at Faji, there are girls in the choir. And I quoted that as an example. I said, it's Anglican Church. Parish Council then wrote to the bishop. The bishop replied, said, he has no objection. Whoever rules as long as they didn't put a goat there to sing. To jẹ́ human being ló máa kọrin. And I told Parish Council, they invited me. I said, I don't see anything wrong with it. Oh. After all, when they have choir practice, it's not that the ladies will sit on the laps of men when they're having choir practice. I said, if a girl is promiscuous and is a member of the choir, he won't come to the choir to be promiscuous. He would have been promiscuous. And when he comes to the choir practice, it's to sing and go away. Mark Bonipa replied to Bishop give. Do you know? Solve me officially. So I just said, So this reverend saw this and did not tell me, because he just didn't want to have a girl in the choir. I just told the girl, go and put on robe. Go there, wash up. On Sunday morning, come there. The reverend saw the girl, said, sorry, go and disrobe. I said, no. I asked her to robe. She, as good as any of the boys in the choir, she knows everything. She's a member of FRCN choir that I was directing. I mean, she can robe in FRCN choir. She should be able to robe in this choir. The reverend refused. You see, what I did was then, every action I took, I always explained to the choir. About the girl robing, they knew. About the action I took, and they wrote the bishop, and they knew. So the man said the girl will not. So congregation were waiting. The choir was not coming. I was down with the choir. Of course, it's me they will obey. Reverend said they are not going to be service. So elders of the church came down 5 minutes past 10, service is 10, 10 minutes past 10. What was happening? The Reverend told them, and I said, if this girl does not robe, the choir won't go in. And they told the choir said, if I tell them to go in, they will go in. If I told them not to go in, they won't go in. So that was how they resolved it. And the girl joined the choir, they went. It was new to the congregation to see the girl for the first time, but it was not strange. Since then, up to today, ladies are members of the choir.
When it's time to enforce rules, when it's time to draw the line, when it's time to apply rules, he will do it in a very objective way. He will do it without passion, without hatred, without fear, without favor. He was a very stern yet friendly person. He was very humorous. He would say some things during rehearsals, and for the next 2-3 minutes, everybody would just be laughing. And he was a very principled person. He was principled, and he was a fearless person. So if he believes in a thing, nothing would change him. So he stood by his principles, whatever happened. And another wonderful thing with Mr. Okusanya is that he's the kind of person that can have a very heated argument with you now, and tomorrow you're smiling, you're talking in a very friendly. He puts that behind him and he moves on. So that's, for me, a wonderful thing. He's not a malicious kind of person. So if he doesn't agree with you, he tells you. So on every issue, you can tell where he stands. Okay. But of course, once his point is made, he moves on.
I enjoyed every year I spent working in the church. I had the respect of the congregation. Although some of them see me as a rascal, they could be right, that's their own interpretation. But I have a reason for doing the things that I did. I wasn't perfect. I wasn't saying that I'm right all the time.
Its legacy to me one are those innovations of, using the Yoruba folklore music songs as in the chantable setting. That is one. Then the second thing is that he elevated the level of of performance of the choir by bringing in, some very somewhat complicated pieces, that we practiced and we rendered either at the even song or even during the Sunday morning service. Occasionally we render anthems like that, and then training individual, me being one of those individual, on to better ourselves at singing. So I remember one of his own composition, the Adura Ale, that I performed, and I practiced it with him. I performed it so well that a lot of people admired it when and they heard me sing, and he was on the piano. Ajesu Baba Harinurode Olùmọ̀ràn kan, gbọ́ àdúrà mi, gbọ́ àdúrà mi, gbọ́ àdúrà mi. Before his time, we were just the treble, the alto, the tenor, the bass. But then when he took over, he introduced the soprano voices, the female voices into the choir. And I believe that is still there till today, which, in my opinion, enriched the total music package that we delivered at that time as the Changing Church Aroloya Choir. He also introduced the idea that members of the choir we celebrate each other on our birthdays. You'll get, like, I think it's a card. Everybody will sign it, and then you'll sort of be recognized and all that.
If I was to describe the hallmark of Mr. Okusanya's career, particularly his tenure as music director at St. John's Aroloya, for me, it would be his passion for pushing boundaries and challenging normative practices in order to transform spaces. His innovations made choral music more accessible to marginalized groups and knowledge systems, most notably through his inclusion of indigenous tunes and popular music in liturgical settings. When he took up the role of choirmaster at St. John's Aroloya in 1986, he fought many battles for change. One of the most significant was his advocacy for the inclusion of girls and women in the choir. Historically, Anglican churches on Lagos Island had male-only choirs, following the tradition of many Anglican choirs in the United Kingdom. Mr. Okusanya questioned this practice, and after years of persistent advocacy, he succeeded in opening the choir at St. John's Aroloya to female voices. In a cultural context where those who challenge the status quo are often seen as stubborn or difficult, Mr. Okusanya was well aware of how some perceived him. Yet, over time, many who were initially ambivalent came to understand his vision, and today his contributions are widely celebrated. His legacy continues to serve as a model for the choral music tradition on Lagos Island and beyond for generations to come.